Trump's reaction and saying that he's going to run to the Supreme Court, which is essentially the equivalent of like, I'm going to call the manager because I can get what I wanted, shows his disdain for all people, right? I mean, because we have to be clear, Donald Trump doesn't seem to like anybody. He may have a particular disdain for black people. He may have a particular disdain for children at the border. But remember, this is a guy who left his own supporters out in the middle of a tarmac and hopped on a plane. There is nobody who Donald Trump likes. I don't even think he likes his kids. So the contrast that we're seeing here is that America, by the slightest of disturbing margins, decided they wanted to pick someone who doesn't actively dislike the people who gave him the job. I am disturbed by the fact that not enough Americans made that decision. I'm disturbed by the fact that you have large numbers of people who are like, yeah, a guy who leaves people out in the cold and 250,000 people die of COVID and harasses women and everything else like that. I want a little bit more of that, and I don't really know if I wanted the other guy. So this election actually shows me a lot of really disturbing things about this country racially, very disturbing things about this country from a gender standpoint. And I have to say this, because if Joe Biden becomes president of the United States, and I hope that he does, because he is not a dictator in the making and he seems to be a decent guy, I will immediately turn around my hat and be excruciatingly critical of him, because you cannot come into this White House with the idea that these people aren't the enemy. They are. The people chasing the Biden-Harris truck out of Texas, they are the enemies of democracy. The people right now attacking vote counters in Detroit, they are the enemy. Kyle Rittenhouse is the enemy. Mitch McConnell is the enemy. And if there's one thing that Democrats should have finally figured out in this campaign, you can't treat the Republican Party with kid gloves, because they won't treat you that way. I hope Joe Biden just gave this speech to sound nice, because everything isn't locked down yet. Maybe Senator Harris will have this idea should she become VP, but they have to go into this realizing they're in a war. The war for the soul of America will not end once he's inaugurated, and I hope he remembers that.
And I know you were looking forward to a quick and decisive victory on Tuesday, but last night you tweeted something that got our attention. You said, my anxiety levels are off the charts. Where's your anxiety this morning, Professor?
Well, I'm still anxious. You know, I'm trying to repeat, Emerson's words and your own words. I'm breathing, but I'm trying to be patient, patient, patient. I'm still trying to I'm asking myself this question, Craig. What are these people voting for when they vote for Donald Trump? What are they voting for? We know the evidence is in. There is incompetence, 230,000 dead. There's mendacity, lying every day. There's corruption. There's hatred. There's grievance. There's resentment. What are they voting for? And so part of what I'm trying to deal with is my anxiety and my anger. That the contradictions in this country run deep, Craig, and that we have, no matter who wins, even the pathway to the White House that may be open to Joe Biden, we have so much work to do in this country, my friend, so much work.
Professor Glaude, again, it's early, but folks are starting to dissect the numbers a bit. It looks as if the president did markedly better with Hispanic voters in Florida, especially South Florida, better with Hispanic voters in Texas as well. And then there's this, according to NBC News exit polls, 91% of black women went for Biden. 80% of black men went for Biden. What do you make of the disparity?
We need to understand sexism and patriarchy isn't a possession of white men. That sexism and patriarchy is, in fact, the possession of Hispanic men and black men. The real story here, though, Craig, isn't about black men. It isn't about Latino voters. The real story here is about white voters. Donald Trump has overperformed among white voters. We've been saying over and over again that we didn't know how he was going to expand his base, that he's been governing just towards for his base. We've been saying that over and over again. And what we saw is that the strategy of the Trump campaign was very clear, that what they wanted to do was to go out and recruit those disaffected white voters, to get them who have opted out of the process and get them to turn out. And what have we seen? We've seen those numbers in droves. And how did he appeal to them? He appealed to them with hate, with grievance, with resentment. So although we could tell the story about black men, although we could tell the story about Latinos, and we need to disaggregate that category, this is a story about white America. This is a story about how whiteness still animates the core of this country, along with selfishness, Craig, because we know who this man is. This race shouldn't be this tight, at least from my vantage point.